What happens when love and music intertwine? Find out in Lee Adams' newest release, Love on Tour. Set against the backdrop of a thrilling concert tour, this story explores passion, heartbreak, and finding your true melody. Perfect for anyone who believes in second chances and unforgettable moments. Don't miss out. Pre-order your copy at leeadamsbooks.com today and be part of the story that will rock your world.
Hey everyone, it's Rich Bennett. Can you believe it? The show is turning 10 this year. I am so grateful for each and every one of you who've tuned in, shared an episode, or even joined the conversation over the years. You're the reason that this podcast has grown into what it is today. Together, we've shared laughs, tears, and moments that truly matter. So I want to thank you for being part of this journey. Let's make the next 10 years even better.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Harford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch of transpersonal.
It's probably the least sexy part of the work. No. The truth is...
Welcome to Conversations with Rich Bennett. I'm your host, Rich Bennett, and today I'm joined by someone who lives at the intersection of resilience, human performance, and personal transformation. Michael Ostrolenk. With over 3 decades of experience, Michael has coached everyone from elite military operators to high-level executives, guiding them in optimizing their mental, physical, and spiritual well-being. He's a master coach with SEALFIT, co-creator of the Unbeatable Mind programs, and has worked closely with leaders like Ken Wilber and Dr. Len Saputo. From founding Team Fudoshin to exploring integrative medicine and tactical training, Michael's journey is a deep dive into what it means to live with purpose and perform at your peak. So grab your coffee, grab your drink, whatever you're having, and get ready for an inspiring and enlightening conversation. And just to let you know, the squeaky noise you're hearing is not Michael. He's dog sitting. Oh, no, don't take the dog's. I was going to say, you can't take his toy away, Michael. Damn, man.
All right, I'll give it back.
Give it back to him. Okay. Hey, look, we've had dogs and everything, so it doesn't matter. How's it going,
awesome,
man?
Oh, man. I love the fact you love dogs, so that's good.
Hey, I mean, I've had people, some of my co-hosts has dogs on here. We've had another one that has cats. We had, I think I had somebody, and this one never made it to the edit. Somebody had birds, and one of the birds got loose and hit them while we were recording. Oh, it was funny as hell.
Oh, man, that's funny.
You never know what's going to happen.
That's good.
I had another lady on. She was recording outside in her barn. Next thing I know, she took off running. Bees.
Oh. Good thing to run from.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I never do this live, always record it. So, because you never know what the hell will happen.
That's very true. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure. I know we've been trying to hook up, I want to say since December, maybe even earlier.
Is that on me from having to change a lot?
Well, I think you've had to change. I had to change.
Right.
Yeah, we had a crazy winter this year. I know you're in Texas, right?
Yeah.
I know Houston had
it. Yeah.
I mean, just it's this past few months have been just crazy. So, all right. So I want to start from the beginning. Actually, go back. We can't go back before the beginning. All right. So
I fell out of the womb.
Yeah, but I always love to ask this question. When you were in school, what was it that you always wanted to be?
Oh my God, that's a great question. So, man, I wanted to be James Bond, a ninja, and a mercenary.
Mm.
And when I was a little kid, I saved my grandmother a lot. And
right.
I read a lot when I was a little kid. And those are the 3 topics when I was a little kid, among other things I can get into. that I read all the time. And my grandmother would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And like one weekend, I want to be a ninja. I want to be a mercenary. And I used to read Soldier of Fortune magazine as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
You remember it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I always looked at them ads in the back of Soldier of Fortune when I got out of the Marine Corps too.
Nice. Yeah. So I would say those things. But as I got a little bit older, do you remember the show Kung Fu?
Yeah. Oh yeah. David Carradine.
So that's formative. Bruce Lee and David Carradine. Mm-hmm. So I got, I can tell this story, but I was into the martial arts. So, I kind of moved more in that direction of like,
okay,
that's what I like to be when I grow up, is like a David Carradine or Bruce Lee,
Yeah.
But we're talking about when I was a kid, because I'm
right.
I'm in my mid 50s now.
All right. So when you got out of school, what was it that happened then?
Well, so if you're asking,
obviously you didn't become Bruce Lee.
Damn it. Well, if you're asking when I was in school, like I was thinking more like elementary school, but by the time I got high school, college, so I had two interests in life as a kid growing up. One was kind of what I might refer now as personal development, inner work, self-regulation, self-mastery. And I can tell you some stories because literally when I was 9, I had a therapist and she taught me biofeedback, which is 1979. The technology wasn't that cool, but I learned biofeedback, guided imagery, meditation. I got into the martial arts. So I had that whole, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow! I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's all good, man. I can rewind it and tell you a little bit of that story if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, 9 years old to even meditate is mind blowing as it is. But yeah, please share that.
Yeah, so you'll appreciate this. So I was 9, and at the time I had they were diagnosed as an obsessive compulsive disorder. I was a hair puller.
Okay.
So that was my way of dealing with stresses in my life. I had some school issues. I had some health issues. And my mom took me to see a psychiatrist. And at the end of the hour-long session, I turned to her and I said, he's fat, he smokes, he can't help himself. How's he going to help me? And I walked out. So it's pretty effing obnoxious for a kid, right? But my mom fortunately agreed. And she found me a therapist, not a psychiatrist, because psychiatrists would just put me on medication back then, especially in 1979, even today. But the therapist, Mrs. Pat Lawson, she literally she was like a cutting edge biofeedback expert. So, it wasn't as cool as it is today, but if you relax, a balloon rises on the computer screen. If you get stressed out, it falls. I learned to manage internal states through biofeedback.
Okay.
And like I said, guided imagery, meditation. I meditated every day. She got me into the martial arts. The first 3 books I read when I was 9, I bought for myself. Was Zen Mind, No Mind by Daisaku Suzuki, Zen in the Martial Arts, and a book on yoga.
Wow.
So, and you're like a 9-year-old, and like, yeah, I probably didn't know what I was reading then.
Right.
I understand it now, but like that was what I was drawn to as a kid.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. For those people listening, explain what biofeedback is.
Yeah. So, you get, in this case, they hook you up to a machine, they hook you up to a computer, and the computer reads your biology or your physiology. So there's different ways of doing it. There's galvanic skin response. So if you're stressed, your skin reacts a certain way, or they can attach it to your heart. So if your heart, if you get excited, it beats faster. If you get relaxed, it beats slower. They can attach it to your brain because you have different brainwave activity. So there's different ways of connecting it to the physical body and then seeing where you're at as a baseline. Like, hey, I'm stressed. I'm not stressed where I'm at. And then this biofeedback, you're getting feedback immediately. This is what's happening inside my body. And then you can do mantras, breathing practices, different things inside oneself to change one's state, and then watch the physiology shift on the computer screen as one example. So like a slow, deep breathing, the more I relax my system, the balloons would rise. And then if I got excited or nervous or anxious, the balloons would fall. So it gives me immediate feedback on what's happening inside myself, and then I can manage that with breath in this case, or a mantra, or whatever it is.
Okay. All right. And you mentioned at 9, I'm still blown away by the 9. You mentioned the 3 books that you read at 9 years old.
Yeah.
Which, at 9, it's hard to really understand them. I think I was 12 when I read, Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And now I'm actually going back and reading The Law of Success because I read that when I was younger. Have you gone back and read those books when you got older?
It's really interesting you say that, because literally I just went back this last year to get them on audio, because I'm nomadic, so it's not easy for me to carry a lot of books. I like physical books versus digital books. So I recently got them. Yeah. But I'm not listening to them yet.
Okay.
But also, interestingly enough, there was an audio, I age myself, that I used to listen to every night when I was a kid, is on Bushido, and it was subliminal messages and meditation. And I hadn't heard it for like 30, 40 some years, and I rediscovered it last year on Audible.
Wow.
So I started listening to that again, like, wow, this is really, because it was really formative when I was 10, 11 years old. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes you have to go back and read those books, because a lot of people will say like The Law of Success was written in 1928, but it's still relevant for today.
Yeah.
And some of those books, you now, granted, if it's a book on computing and writing code, it might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But some of those books, when it comes to your mind and your health, you have to go back and read them. And even business.
100%, agree 100%. And there's mostly nothing new under the sun. I mean, the science, the neuroscience catches that, it works and stuff like that. But the Buddhists have been studying the mind for hundreds and thousands of years. The yogis have been studying the mind for hundreds of thousands of years. So we've been studying these things subjectively without the Western science to prove them.
Right.
But we know these practices work. Like, hey, here's the Tao Te Ching. It's
wow.
Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Oh, actually, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind.
Okay.
But I'm visiting a friend, so these are his books, which is kind of interesting. I didn't even know he had.
You had no idea they were there.
Yeah, literally right there. Yeah.
Well, now you know what you're going to have to ask him when
exactly.
All right. So after all this was going on during elementary school.
Yes, sir.
And then what happened after high school?
So high school, I went to college, and so I grew up in Washington, D.C., the D.C. metro area.
Right.
And most people I was around in terms of the adults, and I always like to spend more time with the adults, were like CIA, FBI, military, government contractors, those type of people. And so I always thought my private interest was self-mastery, mindset work, health and well-being. My public-facing life was like, I'm going to go work for the government. I'll serve, in various capacities inside the government. So when I was in college, that's what I was heading towards.
Right.
And I did a off the record interview with someone in the government. They said, you should, this is the 80s, keep in mind, you should go get your MBA. I don't know if it's relevant anymore, but back in the 80s, everyone's getting their MBA.
Yeah.
That'll be a lawyer. I'm like, okay, I'll do the MBA. So I was 3/4 of the way through my MBA program. And a good friend of mine since elementary school was murdered. Yeah.
Damn.
A month later, a teacher committed suicide. So just like one of those like holy F's, like, just kind of threw me. And
wow.
I was like, I really, had the realization, like the MBA was not of interest to me. Like I have no interest in anything I'm studying there. I was doing fine.
Yeah.
Like what I'm really interested in is what I've always been interested in, which is the psychology, the health, wellness, performance, those kind of things. So I dropped my MBA and I went west. I was on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast and did all my graduate studies and then my postgraduate studies, which I can tell you about too, if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So my graduate degree at John F. Kennedy University was in transpersonal psychology, which I can explain what that means.
Yeah, please.
And then postgraduate was in somatic or body psychology at the California Institute for Clinical Studies.
Yeah, I don't have a clue what either of them are.
Okay, cool. I'll walk you through both. So transpersonal, trans just means through and beyond the personal.
Okay.
That's all. I mean, I choose today, there's political meanings to it, but there's no political meaning to this. Just a prefix. So if you look at all religious systems, the monotheistic ones of the Middle East, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, or Buddhism, various iterations of Buddhism, yoga, the shamanic traditions, all the religious systems have spiritual practices which they encourage their followers to do. Meditation, prayer, chanting, yogic breathing or breathing practices, sensory deprivation. Some Native Americans have pain practices,
right.
Immense pain. Sacred medicines, plant medicines, so various ones have different things. The intent is to change consciousness. So in my schooling, I studied all the regular schools of psychology, object relations and self-psychology and family systems and cognitive behavioral. But in the transpersonal specialization, we study these practices which change states of consciousness, non-ordinary states of consciousness, as example. They're becoming a lot more popular today, like with psychedelics. Like, a lot of veterans are showing benefit with PTS, for instance, with MDMA. Mm-hmm. or things along those lines. So we studied those kind of things, like how you change consciousness, whether with a medicine like that or through breath practices or meditation, whatever it is. That was my specialization in grad school. So I'll stop there. See if you have any questions before I go on the somatic.
No, I'm just blown away by this, because one of the things that I just love learning. One of the things I've always wanted to do, and I love meditating, but I've always wanted to study the different religions like Buddhism. I mean, all of them, because of their practices and how it helps with the mind and the body. And a lot of, and your mental well-being. And a lot of people don't understand that. And my God. Yeah, go ahead. I'm just blown away here. I love learning, man.
That's cool. And what's really fascinating, because if you kind of do a deep dive, the Buddhists are known for their meditation practice. The yogis are known for their yogic practices. But if you actually kind of do a deep dive into the esoteric systems of any religion, a lot of them are doing similar things across the globe at various times. We just don't hear about them because they're not as popular as the Buddhists meditate. Well, there's a lot of other meditative practices around the globe for thousands of years. People discovered that on their own. So that was my transpersonal specialization, and my postgraduate work was in somatic or body psychology. Okay. So the one way to think about this is most schools of psychology is like what's happening between the ears, how you think about your thinking, which is great. It's really important, but they don't include the rest of the body. And if you
never thought about that,
and if you think about it, you don't have to think about it. We're embodied beings,
right?
And the easiest way to kind of understand that is just the breath. Like, if I was working with you and you tell me you're stressed out, I might teach you a breathing practice. Let's shift your respiration, which would calm your nervous system down, which would give you more access to the prefrontal cortex so you think more clearly and take more decisive action. That's through the breath. That's not necessarily just between the ears. So there are ways of working with the physical body to change states. You make more healthy, happy, more productive.
When you mentioned breathing, and even in the Marine Corps, they just tell you, breathe in through your nose and out your mouth as you're running, all that. But they don't teach you breathing, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
When I started doing the DDP yoga, Diamond Dallas Page yoga.
Nice.
That's when I learned about breathing. And I learned breathing exercises, which I didn't know was a thing.
Yeah.
But holy shit.
Yeah.
The difference that it makes. Oh my God, for your mind and your body.
What's amazing is like you can use breathing to, if you're low energy, to raise your energy, if you're too high, to bring it down, and even expand your consciousness. I studied with Dr. Stan Groff. He was a LSD researcher in the 50s and 60s. They criminalized LSD under the Nixon administration. So he created what's called holotropic breathwork, which is a very particular type of breathing practice, which induces similar states as psychedelics. So like, you don't need necessarily plant medicine. You can actually induce these states because all the chemicals are already in your brain.
Right.
You just need to trigger them, Yeah.
Wow.
That's kind of trippy, literally.
Damn. All right. So, and I'm sure you are, but especially if everything out there, how things are changing, are you still educating yourself with everything that you do?
Oh my, I don't stop.
Thank you.
Oh my God. I never want to become Johnny One Note. Oh, this is what I teach. Like, I want to keep evolving, adapting, learning, and every day.
That's something I've always told not just my kids, but other kids. I don't, because and I wish I was paying attention more in school. But I always tell them, I don't care what you want to do in life. The education is never going to stop. You always have to keep learning, which is why I'm going back to reading a lot of these things now and learning. One of the reasons I started this, so I can learn more things. Yeah.
Well, there's a process I teach called a personal PhD. And I encourage all my clients, because I'm a therapist, trained as a therapist. I do coaching for almost 30 years now. But personal PhD is like every year, December, what do you want to study the following year? and what categories, and then how you're going to study it. Are you an auditory learner, a visual learner, kinesthetic? Like put together a program and then throw it in your calendar, and that's your PhD for the year. I mean, it's not a literally PhD, but like that's just the framework I
like
use.
that though.
Yeah, and I do that every year, every December. And then halfway through the year, I reevaluate because I might have gotten through something quicker, or there might be something so new that I need to study for work that I need to jump on, but I pretty much keep to my plan for the year.
All right. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't serve in the military, did you?
No, sir. No.
All right. So how is it that you ended up working with
Mark Devine and the SEALs?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been blessed because I actually work with, I've worked with 2 SEAL companies, and I work with a former Army Ranger, which I'll get into in a moment. So on the SEAL side, how I work for Commander Mark Devine at SEALFIT, I was 39, 2009 or so.
Okay.
And my wife's like, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" She's thinking I want to go to the islands and do stupid shit in the islands. And while I was doing my therapy coaching, I also did policy work at the national level, mostly national security work. So I had encountered a lot of people in the intelligence community and the special operations community. And so just kind of Googling around, I ran into SEALFIT, and I saw that they had this what's called the 3-week SOF Academy. It ends up being more like 4 weeks, but it's a pre-BUDS training program. It's for young men who want to go to Navy Special Warfare. And you finish it off with what's called Kokoro Camp, which Indomitable Spirit is a Japanese term. Okay. It's modeled after Hell Week, but it's 50 hours instead of 5 days. Right. And I'm like, I want to do that. So I signed up.
I looked at you like you were nuts, right?
Nuts, yeah. I'm doing that. So I signed up. I moved out to San Diego for a month. For the 3-week SOF Academy, we trained 12, 14 hours a day.
Wow.
Sometimes at 1 o'clock in the morning, they wake your ass up, you're in the ocean. And then we finish off with Kokoro Camp, the 50-hour, no sleep. The evolutions are in the ocean, on the beach, the grinder, the mountains. Mm-hmm. You no sleep, but you get to eat. That's pretty much it. And then physically
it's fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. So I did that, and all the guys I did it with were young men. They literally all 5 of them got their tridents. They're all SEALs. One's actually retiring this year, which is really kind of cool. But I was 39. I was an old dude, but I made it through. I did really well. And a year later, Mark calls me up. He's like, there's only a small number of people who can go through a SOF Academy and Kokoro Camp. He said, but I want to reach a larger audience, not just 21, 22-year-old young men. I want to create something called the Unbeatable Mind Academy, which is going to be for hockey moms and hockey dads and executives and military folks and law enforcement, everyone who wants to kind of be created on Unbeatable Mind, but it's scaled. Like the 3-week SOF Academy, you have to come in really well trained.
Yeah.
He's like, a lot of people are just going to fall off the couch for the first time, so let's scale this program. So he brought me in. We built this program. We launched it. I ran it for him for years. I helped him build summits, put together summits. We had what's called the Inner Circle. We launched a coach training program. So I just really involved with Mark for a decade, building out and launching and running or co-running various programs. I also worked for Dan Cirillo. May he rest in peace. He died 2 years ago, last month. Another SEAL, I worked for him at Spartan 7, his company.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I presently work with J.C. Glick. I'm cheating on the Navy with the Army. He's a former Army Ranger, the Asymmetrical Warfare Group. We co-lead a men's group.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So, how come you haven't written a book yet?
Well, so a book is right over there. I'm putting it on my computer screen. It's on my computer screen.
You're writing one now.
Well, so God bless Dan Cirillo. So he actually gave me a sabbatical to go write my book a while back. And I wrote it, and I wrote the draft of it. And a week after I finished the draft, I got COVID, and then I had long COVID.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was really sick for about 6 months. I was really out. That led into a couple months of starting recovery, and then a separation and divorce, and I hit the road. And I was literally traveling the country and South America for about a year and a half. So the book just got put aside because I'm just traveling around, experiencing new things and having a different life. I'm here in Texas for a little while. I came from Ecuador to Texas, but I'm going to probably be leaving Texas here late summer.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Ecuador is awesome. I'll have stories to tell you about that if you're interested. It's pretty good.
All right, wait a minute. So with the book, are you going to continue and finish the book?
Yeah, it's actually good timing for me to put it aside because I've learned so much post-separation, traveling around for a year and a half. I've gotten some new opportunities for work. So my thinking is expanded. And my thinking is always been expanded. So I can't use that as an excuse. But it has greatly expanded to what I had written originally. So I'm glad I didn't finish it.
Okay, good.
And I have a colleague of mine who's I'm going to be working with actually here within a couple of weeks. So start talking about the production of the book.
Well, you know what this means, right?
No.
You're going to have to come back on when the book is finished. I mean, got to talk about the book. Got to talk about it and pitch it, man.
Nice. I appreciate that.
All right. So explain the services that you offer to people.
Sure. So I'm very ADD-ish. I love different things, but they're all connected. So I offer one-on-one.
I think we all are, in all honesty. Look, there's times people have told me, "Hey, Rich, you ought to change the name of the podcast to, hey, look, a squirrel."
Yes, there's lots of squirrels in our lives. I love it.
Hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. So I have a one-on-one coaching program that I do. It's 6 months in length, and it's a comprehensive human development program. So I work with you on your physiological development, including diet, nutrition, sleep, fitness, movement, circadian biology practices, psychologically, cognitive, behavioral, emotional, mental, I already said mental, spiritual, energetic, somatic, social, your social ecologies, and then environmental changes too. So that's my individual work. With couples, I also have a 6-month program. It's but when I work with couples, I also work with them as individuals. If you're not doing the healing work and you're not learning to self-regulate, it's really hard to do the couple stuff. So I also, that's part of the work with couples. I co-lead this men's group called Resilience Optimized with JC Glick, the former Army Ranger asymmetrical warfare group.
Yeah.
6-month program too. I like 6 months. And a couple of us recently launched Team Fudoshin, which I can tell you about as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are presently some of the things I'm doing.
Wait a minute. You don't do anything with any corporate companies or businesses or anything?
So I did. And interestingly enough, I will be again. So if you're asking this very moment, no. Only because there's no opportunity. Not that I shouldn't say there's no opportunities. I've not been afforded the opportunity to work within corporations.
Okay.
I have and I will, but I'm not presently.
Okay. All right. So I have a funny feeling with the Team Fudoshin. I think because your shirt, I've been wanting to ask you about this. Team equals ultimate weapon. What's the meaning behind that?
Yeah. So Remy Adeleke, do you know the name?
That sounds familiar.
He's a former SEAL. You ever seen the movie Transformers? Maybe.
Was that maybe I don't know how many. There's so many damn Transformer movies out there. I mean,
well, he African American. Well, he literally is an African American guy because he's literally from Nigeria. Came to the States, became an American citizen, became a SEAL. This is from his company.
Okay.
And I love his shirts. He has great shirts. So I just picked it up from him. He'd actually be a fun guest for you. He's done a lot of really interesting things. But yeah, this is from his company.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I thought it may have been for the Team Fudoshin for a minute.
I wore that yesterday and it's dirty. And I was like, it's in the laundry.
All right. So explain what that is, Team Fudoshin.
Yeah. So, man, about 2 years ago, not 18 months ago, some friends of mine were talking. And we're like, let's do some really hard things. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's train up for something really hard. So like a handful of us started training up for the 50-mile Go Ruck. Go Ruck has 28-mile one, a 10-mile one, a 50-mile Go Ruck. So like, let's train up for the 50-mile Go Ruck. Rucksack, weight, and you walk 50 miles. So we put together a couple of different teams of people across the states who are going to eventually meet up in Washington, D.C. to do this. And it just started growing. More and more people were wanting to do this with us and growing. So we actually did the 50-mile Go Ruck in DC. A handful of us did. It was a great effing experience. And after it, more people wanted to join, and we started getting people wanting to sponsor us. And a buddy of mine who's very well connected kind of in the health and fitness space, he's like, I have sponsors for you. I'm like, for what? Like, we're just a group of guys who got together to do cool shit. He's like, do you have a website? I'm like, no. He's like, do you have an Instagram page? No. Facebook, LinkedIn, like literally we're just guys getting together.
Right. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah. He's like, make this a real thing and I'll get you sponsors. Cool. So like literally we recently just incorporated it, got the bank account.
Wow.
All the social media sites are up. SEALFIT is now a sponsor of us. Kinetic, which is a ketone drink, is a sponsor of us. Other companies are wanting to. I can't name them publicly yet.
Yeah.
We're in conversations, but like this is kind of cool. It's 3 different levels of activities, and we're literally just launching officially. Yeah. We've been doing stuff already, but so we're going to do 3 things. In the short run, we're just educating the public on the importance of tribe and training and doing really hard physical things for emotional, mental, and physical resilience and interpersonal resilience. Like we're just educating people on those important things.
Right.
One of our guys is Will Ravello. He'd be a great guest. He's he's a really interesting dude. So former Army Special Forces SWAT commander, but before he was at SF, he was actually a Marine Raider.
Really?
He is a Marine. He was I think in Okinawa, maybe, or South Korea right around the second Gulf War. And he's like, he wanted combat. The Marines weren't going to get it at that time. He left the Marines, joined the Army, joined FFs, and then got into combat. So he's been in your branch as well as the Army, as well as SWAT. But he's one of our guys. And other people like him. They make some. I can recommend him offline. Some good guests for your show.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah. And so, like I said, we're just educating people on the importance of tribe, hard physical challenges. We're in early conversations to partner with other organizations to put on events, and then in 2026, we're going to start putting on our own events.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, it's fun, man. Like it's such a great group of people.
Yeah.
And, training with a group of people for hard physical challenges is, heart opening. You get to see your limitations, but you have a community that's really supporting you in your growth and development. And you don't have to, I work with people in multiple different ways. Physicality is one way to see your limitations. It doesn't have to be the only way. But you really run into your mind, like the limitations of your mind or your emotions and all the stuff that happens inside of yourself.
Yeah.
I don't have it in me. I don't want to continue. I'm so tired. All that stuff. It's a great training tool.
You're listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. We'll be right back. Ever been caught off guard by a sudden heat wave or cold front? We've all been there. That's why I'm excited about our sponsor for this episode, EcoCool HVAC. Veteran owned and rooted in Harford County, EcoCool HVAC is your go-to solution for all things heating and cooling. Whether you're battling summer's heat or winter's chill, they've got you covered with their top-notch heating and air conditioning services, and even pool heating solutions. Stephen Crodell and his qualified team ensure rapid response and meticulous attention to detail. It's not just about providing a service. It's about caring for the community. Their motto, when you call, they care, and they're there. If you need professional, reliable HVAC assistance, dial EcoCool HVAC at 443-324-9714. Again, that's 443-324-9714, or visit ecocoolhvac.com. Again, that's ecocoolhvac.com. Here's to comfort all year round, thanks to EcoCool HVAC. Holy cow. So how big do you want to see this get?
Man, from your lips to God's ears, we'd love to make this international.
That'd be awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think it's needed.
Yeah.
And if somehow or another, and again, I think it would definitely help with people's mental health as well. If there's some way you could take this and even do like a junior Team Fudoshin or whatever for kids in like high school and all that are going through so many problems, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, one of our guys, Samuel, is doing that actually in your neck of the woods in Fairfax County, Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a martial artist. He runs a martial arts school, and he's doing a lot of work with kids on leadership, but putting them through the paces. So I 100% agree with you, because children, young men especially, but young people, humans,
right,
in our country don't have rites of passage. Except getting laid and getting drunk, which is just like, okay, that's not really helpful.
No.
It's like, but there's nothing that makes a boy to a man or a girl to a woman. There's nothing celebrated about that transition. So, if we could have things that are out there for both girls and boys, men and women, and they don't always have to be physical. Some of them can be spiritual, interpersonal, relational, whatever it is. But we need rites of passage, and this could be one for some, for sure.
And I think it's also they're going to learn discipline and respect as well, which we know that is something that's missing big time.
Unfortunately, yeah, our culture does not support discipline at all. It's immediate gratification. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, man, that is awesome. Yeah, you got to get this book finished. All right, so what actually wait a minute, I know where you were. God, my mind's going a million different places. There was something else you mentioned that you wanted to talk about, and I forgot what it was already. Ecuador, yes. Yeah. All right, so, what led you there, first of all?
You'll love this story. Like, this is how God works. So I was literally rucking in the mountains of Colorado. I love to ruck. That's one of my physical training activities. And this is part of when I was traveling around the country. So I was rucking the mountains. And I'm a social media addict. So, like, I took a break and I'm on Facebook. And I see an ad for a training company, a tactical training company, handguns, rifles, martial arts, those kind of things. And in Virginia Beach. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be back in the East Coast visiting family in Northern Virginia. I can cruise down there. So I left them a message. And then I'm in the mountains, so I lost signal. And then I come back out of the mountains, and they left me a message. And so we're kind of going back and forth.
Right.
And the guy says, I'm in New York. I'm heading down to Virginia Beach at this particular date. I'm going to be in Northern Virginia for these 3 days, but I'll be back in, being back in Virginia Beach here. And I'm like, left him a voicemail back and forth. I was like, when are you going to be in Northern Virginia? He's like, these dates. I'm like, literally, that's when I'm flying into Northern Virginia. I said, let's meet at Misha's Coffee, my favorite coffee joint. So we met at Misha's. His name is Samuel. And we sat down, we're having coffee, and we're talking. He told me all about this training, and I love tactical training. So I'm loving it. And at the end of this is an hour later, at the end of the conversation, he's like, where are you going next? I was like, well, so I wanted to go to the beach for the winter because this is like November. And, but I was going to go to San Diego, didn't work out. Some opportunities in Florida didn't work out. So I'm not really sure. He's like, we have a house in Ecuador. Why don't you stay at our house? I had two thoughts. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's fucking awesome. Thank you, man. That'd be perfect. And then, but I'm also like, you're married. Like, you shouldn't give your house to a stranger. You should talk to your wife first. Like,
right. Yeah.
I want to keep you married. So yeah. So I'm like, let's meet your wife first. So like a week later, she came up, we sat down, we had a great sushi dinner, and she's really into consciousness studies and meditation and health. So we had a great conversation.
Wow.
And at the end of it, she's like, you should stay at our place. I'm like, okay, if I get both of you guys saying I should stay at your place, I'll stay at your place. So literally I spent a month in Ecuador. And I can tell you stories about Ecuador because it was a great experience. I was on the beach. It was amazing. Oh,
and I bet the food was awesome too.
Ceviche and mangoes, literally. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah,
man. Yeah. And you were only there did you want to come back home?
Well, so I don't know if you followed the news at the time. 48 hours into my visit to Ecuador was when the narco terrorists, gangs went into their version of CNN, took it over, went into a university, started killing college students, started killing police and politicos. And within 48 hours, the president declared kind of a state of emergency and war against 22 gangs. So the whole country shut down. Military was on the streets. Wow. So it was an interesting time to be in Ecuador. And I'll tell you a quick 2 fun stories. So I was training with my Go Ruck. So I was rucking 4 to 6 hours a day on the beach or in the mountains. And Ecuadorians would warn me like, hey, you got to be really careful. It's high crime. They're going to mug you. So I'm, being aware.
You're like, bring it on.
Well, so I'm like, nothing ever happened to me. I was really fortunate. And I'm careful. I'm not stupid, but I'm like, I'm not going to not do stuff.
Right.
And then
why live in fear?
Yeah. And there are expat parties every Saturday. So I'd meet Americans, Canadians, and Ecuadorians speak good English. I was invited to these parties every Saturday for a couple hours. And I was talking to a few people at the party, and they're like, are you the guy rucking on the beach? I'm like, yeah. It says, they're like, are you part of the special forces here that are working with the Ecuadorians to go after the drug gangs? I'm like, no. Are you with the agency? I'm like, no. So after talking to them for a while, after a couple of weeks, they're like, that's probably why you don't get mugged, because they think your Army or Special Forces here to train up the Ecuadorians or the agency. And they're not going to, no one's going to fuck with you because that would bring hell on them.
Right.
Like,
wow.
Cool. So that's maybe why I was a little bit safer.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's, I forgot all about that.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I just saw that Eric Prince is down there, I think, doing some work with the government presently. I haven't had a chance to look into it.
Now, were you married at this time?
No.
Okay. I was going to say, if so, your wife had to be freaking out.
No. She's probably happy I was there. This is after we were separated, getting a divorce. Yeah.
God. All right. So I want to talk to you about the podcast.
Yeah.
What actually triggered your brain to say, hey, I need to start a podcast?
2008.
That's when you started it?
Yeah. I've had various iterations of it. It used to be on Blog Talk Radio. I might have done Skype at one point. Like Blog Talk Radio, I don't even know if it still exists, but like that was a long time ago. Skype, I don't even know if Skype exists anymore.
No, actually, I just got news about that Skype, because Skype is owned by Microsoft and they're shutting that down. I think it's part of Microsoft Teams or whatever. I think it was Skype. Who knows? Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't even know where half my stuff is for years, but I started it for a very particular reason. Mm-hmm. So besides doing the coaching work I did, we've been talking about, I also did mostly, but not completely, national security, public policy work. Okay. And I'd be up on Capitol Hill meeting with members of Congress and their staff. And I always thought it was so cool. Like, I was like, if I was a staff member or a member of Congress, I could literally call anyone up I'd be interested in talking to, and they would answer my call. And they even probably fly into DC and sit down and talk to my member of Congress. Like, wow. I can learn anything and everything I ever wanted to. I'm like, but I'm not a member of Congress. I'm not a staff person.
Right.
But if I launch a podcast, I can do the same thing. Mm-hmm. I can learn from these experts, people that I'm like, man, I want to learn how you think about what you do and what you do. Yeah. And so like, it gave me 3 opportunities. One, just to learn from people I like, wow, cool, shmee in your particular field. And I've covered so many different topics. I love to network.
Yes.
And I love like, you should talk to this person. Cool. So I do a lot of networking behind the scenes. And I'm like, you need a different audience. Like I want you to have this audience over here. So, because I've worked in so many different spaces of human life.
Right.
That I'm very well networked. I'm really fortunate. So I'm like, your message needs to be heard here. So I love networking. I love helping people expand their message, and I love learning. So it's like, podcast is kind of perfect.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's I've told a lot of people this, and you mentioned it with the networking. I've never met so many great people as I have since I started doing this.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, you stay in contact.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had several guests come back on.
Nice.
I've had several together, like doing a round
That's
table.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, it's because I know if I'm learning, then I know the listeners are learning from it, which is, well, that's the key. Why do we do it?
Yeah.
I definitely don't do it to hear my own voice.
I love it. I mean, I like being a guest on people's podcasts because I do like to talk about stuff, but interviewing people, because like I get a chance to read their book.
Yeah.
Or take their course or whatever it is, and just learn something new. Like you shared a little while ago, is like a lifelong learner, always learning, evolving, adapting stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You have to. You have to.
I want to share with you experience in Ecuador, which I think would be of interest to your listening audience in terms of building mental resilience.
Okay.
And emotional and physical resilience. So one of the things I teach as part of my work is like how to become more resilient mentally, emotionally, spiritually, as well as physically. And when I remember I was rocking in it's like 98, 99 degrees, it's hot as F. It's, humidity is really high because it's Ecuador,
Right. Yeah.
So what I would do, and I remember this one time I was 15 miles into a ruck and I was just bitching in my mind. All this sucks. I can't wait to be done. I'm so tired, all this stuff. I'm like, all right, stop this. this is stupid because I'm just going to lead me down a bad, dark path. I'm not going to do that. So I started running hills. I said, I'm going to give myself something to bitch about. And I started running hills. And then I got back on the path and I was happy because I wasn't running hills. So I stopped bitching.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you're bitching about something in your head, make it harder. So then what you're doing is easy and the bitching goes away.
Oh, damn.
Isn't that good? That's my Jedi mind trick. Yeah.
Actually, so you shared a lot of stories about yourself. Can you actually share some feel-good stories about people that you've helped?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly. You're a veteran. Mm-hmm. You know, man, I've been really fortunate to do some work with veterans.
And thank you for that.
Yeah, suicidal veterans. You know, I don't know if the number is correct. I think it's too little, but they say 22 a day.
Yeah, it's definitely higher than that.
Yeah, I believe that to be true. You know, without giving names, I've done a lot of work with a handful of veterans who got to the other side of being suicidal and have flourishing lives. So I'm blessed to have those opportunities. On a less like dramatic front, I share two clients' stories.
Okay.
I work with one guy who is recently separated. And I work in a very comprehensive way. I said physiological, psychological, social, and environmental. So like I had him changing all aspects of his life. Slowly, 1% better every day. It's not like you full 180-degree change because people burn out that way. But like,
right.
He started exercising, he started eating better. He started showing up differently at work. He's showing up differently with his kids. He started dating, all these things. He lost 30 pounds. His health is better. His mood is better. His mindset's much better. I know his boss. So his boss will tell me how he's showing up differently at work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing how he's showing up differently as someone who's now dating. Like he's making better decisions for himself and his family.
Right.
Much more clear boundaries when it comes to his previous relationship. He's still the mother of his children. So like those kind of things, I'm like, wow, like life can be transformed. Even if you're going through a really hard time, separating from your wife and creating a whole new life for yourself, transformation is possible. And then I can share with you a couple that I work with too. And it's really funny with couples, and I'm trained as a marriage and family therapist. Like, it's so simple but really hard.
Yeah.
Once people get down how easy it is to authentically share what's going on for them without feeling that they have to be defended against the other person attacking them, the other person doesn't feel defended against having to protect themselves against a perceived or real threat. I don't mean a physical threat, but an emotional, mental threat. And both people can relax and be honest and open and share. The dynamic shifts so amazingly well, and people become more playful and fun and joyous, as opposed to like, this is how we always do things. We have to fight this way and this, it's like, no, that doesn't work. It hasn't worked. And that's why you're seeing me.
Right.
Let's try new things. Let's heal some of these old wounds. Let's learn how to self-regulate. Let's learn how to co-regulate. And you guys can show up in a more loving, caring, and playful. I'm really, I want to highlight, like, most people, when they first start dating, are a little bit more playful, and then they get married and things solidify, and and life happens all around them. And, there's two things I bring into my work with couples: curiosity. Be curious about yourself and your partner. Don't turn them into a rock or yourself into a rock. This is just who they are. This is who I am. Now we can grow. We can learn.
Yeah.
We can adapt. And then playfulness. Like I literally teach people how to be playful again with each other. And that changes everything.
So when it comes to couples,
and
you're right, because a lot of times it's married couples are like bashing heads.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you help them, or how can I'm trying to figure out how I can phrase this. All right. So are there any couples that you have tried to help where, and then, once they start talking, they realize they're not meant for each other?
Yeah. So, and that's also,
which could also be better for them.
So it can be, yes, 100%, but they have to do it consciously.
Yes. Okay.
There's a great book out there called Conscious Uncoupling. I highly recommend it for anyone soon to be going through a divorce or separation. It's like, because I actually, it's funny you bring this up, because I've worked with a handful of people who at the end of it, in a friendly, amicable, loving way, realize like, hey, we've kind of run the course of this relationship.
Right.
But we're no longer serving the relationship. We're no longer serving ourselves. We're no longer serving the other person. Like the contract is done. If you want to kind of look at it like the soul contract that brought us together, we're complete. Now we can rethink how we do this, meaning we can still be friends maybe, or some, if we're parents, we got to co-parent, got to figure all that out. But we don't have to like hate the other person and scream and yell at the other person and, and be cruel and mean to the other person. We can just like as adults just say, hey, we've run the course. Let's do this. What's this new relationship look like? And go our own ways. Cool. Okay. That's always a possibility too.
Yeah. And the thing is, because I think about my son's mother, and we get along better now than when we were together.
Together. Yeah.
I mean, and I see a lot of couples like that. Sometimes it does run its course.
Yeah.
But there are other times, like my wife now. Oh my God, I can't imagine being without her.
Oh,
because we've been married. It'll be, oh my God, 29 years, 28 years, 28 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But we still always cracking on each other, and playing with each other and all that. And it's weird because like her and my daughter will go away for a weekend. I'm freaking miserable. I can't stand it. It's like
you miss her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both though. She's like, really? I was like, yeah. Huh? I was like, I know she misses me too because she'll call me at night. Yeah, don't tell me you don't miss me. Yeah, I know. Sweet, she doesn't listen to this, so I'm fine. So before I get to my last question,
sure.
Is there anything you would like to add?
If I could, and we've talked some about resilience and stuff like that. But there's one message I'd like to pass. Resilience is really important. I really encourage people to develop that physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. But if I could leave one message for people, is kindness.
Yes.
Like, we live in a VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, chaotic, ambiguous. There's a lot of changes going on culturally, and technologically, and geopolitically, and politically here in our country. And it triggers a lot of fear and insecurities. And people, when they operate out of fear and insecurities, can sometimes do not the nicest things. And I think we need more kindness in this world.
Yeah.
Not more fighting.
Yeah, I agree with you 110% there. And I actually lied. I have two more questions for you.
Okay. I'm all yours.
Before I get to those questions, tell everybody your website and how they can get in touch with you.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. Michael, Michael D, Ostrolenk, the letter D, Ostrolenk, OSTROLENK.com. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Ostrolenk. You can find me, Michael David Ostrolenk, on Facebook and LinkedIn as well.
All right. So going back in time.
Okay.
If young Michael would not have read them books, what do you think he'd be doing now?
Can we throw in if he hadn't learned meditation?
Excellent. Yes.
Yeah. That's a really good question. So I had friends, a couple of people I knew as kids who were similarly like me with some of the similar problems that I had. And they got into drugs and criminality and stuff. And, I had really supportive parents, fortunately, so I can't imagine they would not have gotten me help. Right. But them aside, if I hadn't learned to self-regulate and master my own emotions and meditations and be on this kind of path, I could have seen it leading to some trouble down the road. Because you feel like crap inside. If you can't learn how to regulate it, you use drugs to reduce your pain, or alcohol, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or you act out. So I could imagine that could have been a path, maybe.
You know what? And with the things that you offer, and this just hit me because we talk to people that are in recovery a lot, and I'm glad you mentioned that, that path you may have gone down. Do you work with a lot of people that are in recovery?
So when I was I don't work under my license as a therapist anymore.
Okay.
I've been coaching. I've been a therapist for almost 30 years, coaching for 25 of those. So as a therapist, yes. As a coach, I work with people who've had problems but are in treatment, or they're post-treatment, like they're it's on undercover, it's under their, I don't think they've recovered. I mean, I know there's different language, so like they're recovering, they've gotten help, they're no longer consuming the drugs or alcohol. I don't work with people who are just starting that process because, like I said, I work as a coach, not a therapist. But I've had, and I do have clients who've had drug and alcohol problems. They're under control because, if you work with someone physiologically, like I do, like you get them to eat well, you get them to move and do fitness, you get them to sleep better. Circadian biology is important. Stress management, all those things are really helpful.
Yeah.
Part of the recovery and post-recovery process.
Yeah. That's I was wondering because, and then again, you may be working with someone and not even know it.
Very true.
Yeah. But I'm just thinking of a lot of the people that are in recovery, how Team Fudoshin would be perfect for them.
Yeah.
I love that, man. You got the shirts made yet?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we have the shirts. I'll send you a link to the website.
Awesome.
The website.
What is tell everybody the website now?
Well,
you got one.
teamfudoshin.com is the website.
Okay.
The shirts are on a different website. I'll send them to you. I'll send you.
Okay. Send me any links. Yeah. All right. So, what is the next big thing for Michael?
So, two things: growing Team Fudoshin, like we talked about, international, which is going to be awesome. And then, I joke with you that I was cheating on the Navy guys, the SEALs, with the Army guy. My friend who's an Army Ranger. Well, I mentioned Will Ravello, who's the SF guy, former Marine Raider. He and I are talking about putting together, and we had to delay it because we're doing Team Fudoshin right now, a mastermind group for tactical training.
Oh, come on.
Once a quarter, we get together for like tactical medicine, shoot house, gun stuff, tactical handgun, tactical rifle, survival training. So every quarter we get together and we do like a week of training, and then it's a mastermind in between. So the guys get together every week for interpersonal development, personal development. We put together that whole program, but we haven't been able to launch it yet because we've been focusing on Team Fudoshin.
No.
So that probably 2026. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that is awesome. Yeah. You definitely got to let me know about that. That's one of the things we're actually going to be recording a roundtable podcast about brainstorming in a mastermind group.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I'm working on now is actually starting a mastermind group. You hear about networking groups all the time, but you really don't hear or see many mastermind groups anymore. And I think that's missing.
Having been part of it and run a few, they're awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
It's to me. I mean, networking is important, but I think when you get those minds together and you start brainstorming, that's going to grow your business or even your nonprofit or whatever, and your surroundings quicker than any networking event you go to. The wisdom of crowds, I think they might say, the wisdom of groups. Yeah, 100% agree with you. Man.
Yeah.
Michael, I want to thank you so much. I am looking forward to having you on again because I know there's a lot more we could talk about.
I appreciate that.
And God, those of you listening, if you need his help, the links are in the show notes. Make sure you go there. And man, Team Fudoshin, this I can't wait. That is awesome.
Man.
That is awesome, man. Take care, Michael. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Conversations with Rich Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something from it as I did. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners and share more incredible stories. Don't forget to connect with us on social media or visit our website at conversationswithrichbennett.com for updates, giveaways, and more. Until next time, take care, be kind, and keep the conversations going.